We're going to take a few minutes now to clean up some of the pieces on the inside of the jacket. Then we're going to check the outside of the jacket and then turn it inside out for hopefully the last time. So the next step that you want to do is you need to take care of tacking your facing to the body of the jacket. So what you're going to do is, again, and this is where the notches are so helpful all the time, you're going to line up your notch with that center back seam. And you're going to pinch inside. So I've got my seam allowance here on the outside for the facing, seam allowance for the jacket here. So I'm really technically pinching the collar on the inside. And I'm going to pin that. And then I'm going to work my way down. Again, grabbing my seam allowance, not matching up my notches where I have them. Going along this seam, and when you're going to see when you pinch it, you can really feel how it lines up. So give it a good pinch so that you can line it up. And it's not something that really has to be 100% perfect, but you do want it to be lined up. And I would take all of that down, pinching it till you get to your roll line. After that, your facing should be fine. So again, you can see here the beauty of having the notches. You don't want to disturb what you've done in turning your point, so just get in to about your roll line will take care of it. Then what I'm going to do is to back tack it together. And I'm going to do it so that it's pretty close to the actual seam itself. So again, I'm back tacking together my collar seams, my collar seam allowance technically. I'm going to take relatively small back tacks, maybe 1/4 of an inch or so. Again, making sure every time I pinch it that I'm lining up. Opening it up so that I'm lining up my seam. And again, this is going to keep the facing from shifting. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now, and it's a single thread, not a double thread. You really almost never use double threads unless you're putting a button on. So I'm going to go ahead and do that, back tacking my seam allowance for my collars together on the inside of the jacket from roll line on one side over to the other. Next, once the collar is tacked down, what you want to do is to just do a general cleanup on the inside. So if your vent, the top of your vent seems to be flapping around a little bit, you can tack it down either to the canvas if it's not mine is coming onto my pocket because it's on a side seam. Yours probably won't because most of you have it in the back. So then you can cross stitch it to the canvas or to another part. So the one thing too we talked about the other day, but now I can actually give you an example, is that so your vent, again, you want to stitch across here. I hand stitched this, I back tacked it across You can machine stitch it either way. But of course you're going to get this twist here, right? Because now our vent is going to fold towards the front or to the right or the left on the back. Actually, there's not a protocol for that one way or another. So if you're on the back seam, you can fold it either way. If you're on, obviously, the side seam, then you want it to be so that it folds from the front. So I'm going to push all of my 2 extensions over to the front. In this case, again, I hit my pocket, so I am going to tack that. But you're going to get this little twist here, and you'll see a variety of comments on this if you delve into tailoring, reading about tailoring. Most high-end tailors will tell you do not clip that. I mean, it's very tempting because it is pulling, but if when you clip it, then you cause a weakness in this spot. So most tailors will tell you just to let that go. Okay, so I think I am going to tack this down and then just do a general cleanup. So I'm going to go through, and any threads that I see, if the inside the jacket, if the thread, you do not need to clip your threads really close. Probably leaving just like a 1/2 inch is fine. That kind of guarantees that everything's going to stay, because there's not a lot of back tacking and tailoring. But you'll see too, you'll have some of the pieces like my horsehairs starting to fray a little bit. So I'm going to go and clean up. Just clean it up before I close it up. Again, not cutting too close on anything, just getting rid of threads and making it nice and neat and clean. So you're going to tack your collar facing, your collars really together at the neckline. Take your vents, tack them down if you feel like you need to. If your pockets take a funny shape and they need to be tacked down, just simply, again, pick up your canvas, only the canvas, and the pocket bag. Don't go through to the side of the jacket, so just lift up the canvas, and tack your pocket down. So you can do that if you feel like it's flopping around too much. So check your pockets, check your vent, tack your collars together, and then we're ready to take a look at the garment on the dress form.